Thanks for clicking on this video. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon and turn on all notifications to keep up to date with the latest information and discussions. Now this is a pretty confusing point in the story. Is this Resurrection B? Hey guys, MasakoX here. What with the new timeline that considers Broly a completely different boy? It kind of leaves the current what-if situation with the one that we were talking about from last year in a little bit of a muddled point. So I think for the purposes of this what-if continuing in some kind of meaningful way, we are going to be, unfortunately, eschewing the brand new Broly and his potential point in the timeline. So as far as we're concerned, the planet Vampa, Broly, that Paragus, they don't exist. I know it's a shame. So, needless to say, the what if that we were talking about today is what if Broly turned good? And if we're talking about the original Broly here, that is a pretty big undertaking that seemed very, very impossible at the original point in the story. But again, with the April Fool caveat, it did allow us to come up with something a bit more bold by actually including the movie canon here instead. Or as well as. Yeah, you don't need to turn the new Broly good, because he's already good. He's so innocent and pure, with the right influence, he could easily be a very good boy. I mean, all you need to do for that one is just get rid of Paragus and then just give him some positive role models in the form of Chilai and Lemmo, and occasionally with a little bit of influence from Goku. The original timeline for these events began with the elements of movie 10. So they obviously talked and met Broly in movie 8, so that's been in there. But movie 10 is when Broly came to Earth, was discovered by Goten and Trunks, and actually had faith instilled by them, sort of like the Iron Giant in a way, and eventually kind of integrated himself into the story. But before we begin, I got to reiterate that this what if is a lot more loose than some of my other what ifs. And I know that recently some of my what ifs have been bordering on the actual lines of fan fiction. I think this is a really good idea just to have a bit of a looser what if, because you can't keep treading the same story over and over again and keep doing the same plots. You got to experiment every now and again. I'm pretty sure Toriyama would do the same thing, because he's all about that experimenting, living on a chapter by chapter basis when it comes to his writing style. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. I write part by part. In the last part, Broly, the new good boy, had managed to buy Goku some time so he can come back and enact the Super Saiyan God ritual. And he was actually able to go toe-to-toe for a brief point with Beerus, using his Berserker form, which really captivated Beerus in some way. It actually made him have to use, like, more of his power than before, but like with Ultra Instinct Shaggy, Beerus only had to use 10% of his power. We still got the Super Saiyan God ritual, made slightly easy with the inclusion of Broly, and it made Whis and Beerus even more interested in Saiyans than it was in the original story, which I think would make Beerus more inclined for them to be around, and Whis more than happy to actually train them. We continue the story right after we did in the last part, with Whis and Beerus heading home, discussing the events of what transpired when Beerus slightly wakes up because of all the buffeting going through at the speed of light throughout the galaxy. While they're talking, Whis then actually remembers something that went down not that long ago. Maybe just like a few years ago, but, well, I mean, a few's a relative with a god and an angel. But they remembered that South Galaxy was just not there anymore, and it was very, very odd that that would just suddenly disappear, and Beerus had nothing to do with it. There was talk going around that it was a Saiyan that actually did the deed. So when Beerus finds out that all of this destruction came from one mortal, he's even more interested to get these Saiyans here. But, you know, he's obviously got to play coy. You know, he's got a reputation to keep up. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Goku and Broly are catching up after lost time, and Goku is absolutely mesmerized with how strong Broly's become in the intervening time. But at the same time, Vegeta's kind of resentful that this punk just showed up and kind of just made him the third strongest Saiyan here. But at the same time, Vegeta's kind of grateful that Earth wasn't destroyed and that Beerus suddenly disappeared and is no longer a threat, at least for the time being. Nevertheless, Goku is determined to help make Broly fix what he did before he actually became a good boy, and that is to bring back South Galaxy. Why am I talking about this here? Well, I think that Broly now needs a new goal, not just to get stronger or to control his power, but to right the wrongs that Paragus kind of almost instilled in him, and that is to revive South Galaxy back to the way it was, you know, before the Cell games. They know that the Earth Dragon Balls can't bring back a whole galaxy, but the Namekian Dragon Balls might be able to do that. So Goku and Broly head off together via instant transmission to try and ask the Namekians whether it's even possible. Porunga is then summoned, and Goku makes the wish that he wishes for South Galaxy to be restored along with its people. But sure enough, Porunga then says,
That is beyond my power.
And that comes as a shock, because at this point in the story, Porunga has never denied a wish based on the fact that it was beyond his power. Shenron does that all the time, it's become a bit of a meme. But for Porunga, the only reasons that wishes haven't worked with him is because either people didn't need the wish, or Goku was just like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." Goku and Broly are left disappointed, with the latter being particularly bummed out. He thought he'd be able to atone for his sins back when he was just considered a monster and was completely uncontrollable. Or Paragus at least didn't try and stop him. When Porunga asks if they have any other wishes that they might be able to consider, Goku then actually uses this point to ponder for a moment. There might be something after all. He then asks Porunga whether it would be possible to transport the both of them to where Beerus and Whis are located. Beerus is pad. Porunga, like Shenron, is kind of nervous at this proposition. Why would two mortals want to go and actually disturb the destroyer god of all things? It's basically something he could do, but why would he have to do it? The Namekians are absolutely stunned at what they're hearing, and Porunga is just like going, he doesn't want to hear anymore. Yeah, fine, whatever, you go and do it. I'm just gonna leave now. He doesn't want to be sticking around and having Beerus come to him saying, "Hey you, dragon, were you actually responsible for disturbing my slumber? Looks like I might have to destroy you." Yeah, Porunga's going like, Porunga out. Now Goku needed this wish because at this point in the story, he cannot sense Divine Ki. So he wouldn't be able to use instant transmission in the typical way. He's going to need a bit of a help. Whis is cordial, and Beerus is happy to see them, but he's got to keep up appearances, so he is irritated that they dare actually come to the world of a destroyer god unannounced and uninvited of all things. Yeah. Goku is completely unfazed. His eyes are on the prize. So he actually says, "Oh yeah, I'll be able to give you a free supply of Earth food for the rest of your life, just so on the condition that Broly and I could train with Whis and you." Beerus ponders for a moment, making this seem like it's the biggest decision of his life, but on the inside, he's elated. He didn't even have to go back to Earth to ask them. They came to him. Oh, so convenient. He can sleep for a little bit longer. Whis will come for them when he's ready. Just as long as they've got some food ready to go when he gets there, everything should be fine. Goku and Broly are indeed excited, but Broly feels a little bit guilty about all of this for a sudden. He then asks Whis two questions. First, whether Vegeta would be able to come and join them because, yeah, as Saiyans they want to bond and make sure everybody's strong, and not to mention for the fact that Vegeta and Broly did train a lot. If Broly went behind Vegeta, it would be really unfair. And secondly, is there any possible way that South Galaxy could be restored? And Whis is just going, "Oh, that's easy. We can use the Super Dragon Balls." Yeah, I think because of all of this and Broly asking, the revelation of the Super Dragon Balls comes slightly earlier than it does in the original story. But at this point, these aren't your average sized balls, they are planet sized, and there is no meaningful way of being able to track them at this point. Bulma hasn't made the radar yet. Whis will look into it after Earth food is given to him. It's a very big, important negotiating chip. With that, the two Saiyans then head home and prepare for training, with Vegeta being told about this and included, and he is jumping on the opportunity. Months pass, and Gohan and Videl give birth to Pan, and Goku, Broly, and Vegeta are well into their training with Whis. Like in the original, Frieza is brought back to life thanks to Sorbet and Taguma, and they are ready to bear down on Earth with Frieza wanting to get revenge on Goku and completely unaware of the inclusion of Broly in the proceedings. The 1,000-soldier battle takes place like it does in the original, with Gohan leading the charge right up to the point where he reaches his lowest ebb in the story, at least narratively speaking. With the unleashing of his power, this sends a message to the three Saiyans on Beerus' planet that it's time for them to come home and face up against Frieza. Sure, Frieza is surprised to see Vegeta and Goku here all of a sudden, but who's this other punk and monkey? He's completely unaware of Broly's existence. Broly, having been told about what Frieza's like, is aware that he needs to actually big himself up. He states that he is the legendary Super Saiyan, the one who destroyed South Galaxy, even though it's a bitter pill to swallow. He's not exactly proud of it, but he's got to make it seem like he is. It doesn't exactly work on Frieza, but it does work on Sorbet. Between the time that Frieza was off around the Future Trunks saga to where he is right now, Sorbet and the rest of the Frieza forces, or what was left of them, was scattered about, and they would have heard about South Galaxy suddenly disappearing, and it had something to do with the legendary Super Saiyan, or some kind of big entity. So Sorbet would be well aware that if this is the guy who took out a whole galaxy, oh dear. This makes Sorbet absolutely petrified. He is then going to Frieza. Lord Frieza, you better not mess with him. He is the legendary Super Saiyan. Galaxy gone. At this point in the story, he's basically Resurrection F Frieza, very one-dimensional and very ruthless. He's not the Frieza that we currently know from the Broly movie and in Super. Frieza is not going to take this insubordination, and despite the plan that Sorbet and Frieza have, Frieza's not going to hear any more words about a monkey destroying a galaxy. He takes out Sorbet with a hit. And I think Frieza would do that because at this point he would not want to hear anyone challenging his opinion. Goku then decides to take Frieza on first and showcases the power of Super Saiyan Blue, with Frieza retorting with the power of Golden Frieza. Goku is determined to end this fight quickly because he knows that Frieza will stop at nothing to try and get revenge on him and destroy his homeworld of Earth. With Frieza's plan gone, with Sorbet trying to take Goku out surreptitiously, Goku is able to take Frieza down to his final form again, and Frieza is completely on the ropes. It's basically, instead of Vegeta and Frieza, it's Goku and Frieza. Goku's about to do the deed, Frieza then does his deed, and takes out Earth instantly, with Whis only being able to take everyone else in the vicinity away from the planet, and leaving Goku and Frieza completely gone and decimated. This affects everyone, especially Broly. He's lost his master again. He cannot cope with this happening, and he is absolutely devastated, flickering with the legendary power again. But we slowly soothe the beast down after having months of training and knowing what he's about to do. He says, "It's okay, Broly. We've got this. I am able to reverse time." Vegeta is absolutely relieved because he didn't want to face a legendary Super Saiyan Broly again. So they go back, and Broly and Vegeta know exactly what to do. Vegeta and Broly team up and fire a blast telling Goku to get out of the way, and he doesn't need telling twice. They jointly show off the power of Super Saiyan Blue, with Broly having a slightly tinted variant, and show the power to Frieza, vaporizing him almost at once. Goku is absolutely surprised to see this happen and is kind of disappointed that he didn't get to finish Frieza off again, but Vegeta is having none of it because Goku got to do it once, so it was about time that Vegeta did it, and he's completely unaware that Broly helped. As far as he's concerned, Vegeta is the one that took out Frieza, and I think this would be very good for his character, and ultimately from Resurrection F, it was totally deserved for Vegeta to get the win. So here, Vegeta gets the win. Sure, he did get some help from the punk, but he was able to get one over Kakarot, and that's what matters. Either way, Goku's not particularly fussed about it, and he's just more focused on how Broly was able to use the power of Super Saiyan Blue so efficiently. But frankly, Broly's just happy to see Kakarot alive again, and goes in and gives him a big bear hug, while still in Super Saiyan Blue and Goku's in base form, so Goku has to power up to Blue again, just to make sure he's not crushed. Now about those Super Dragon Balls, Broly states that Whis hasn't gotten around to actually finding them yet, and what with the whole thing about Frieza, it kind of put it out to their minds. And Goku agrees that now Frieza's gone for good this time, they should now focus on finding the Super Dragon Balls, so they can bring back South Galaxy. Whis then remembers this request and chuckles awkwardly that he did go trying finding them, but he wasn't able to actually locate them. They weren't where they were originally based. This is when Beerus curses, saying that, "Oh, that blasted Champa took them! I bet he's going to wish on something selfish!" This leaves the Saiyans nonplussed because they were unaware that Beerus had a brother, and I think this is a good point to leave things for right now. So there we go, with Sorbet taken out of the picture by very stubborn and arrogant Lord Frieza. Goku was able to get the win over Frieza for the longest point, he wasn't bested by a laser beam, and we got Vegeta and Broly taking out Frieza. In any case, Broly did play his part in this story by instilling fear in Sorbet, which ultimately meant that Goku was no longer harmed and he could do his thing. Despite the fact that Broly didn't do much fighting, he did help Vegeta though. And I think this was a really good way of trying to really call back the fact that Vegeta was the one to help Broly train and focus his power. We're going to be heading into Universe 6 with Broly determined to find the Super Dragon Ball, so what is he going to do exactly? Well, we're going to have to stay tuned for that one. Look forward to it. So what do you guys think? Was this a more satisfying way to end the Resurrection F arc? Is Broly going to be able to atone for his wrongs at all in this story? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!